Ah, what were you thinking, dude? Hey guys, thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network. Joel here. I am currently in the Medicine Bow Mountains in Wyoming, but I just came from Sniper Adventure Challenge north of here near Douglas, Wyoming. You are going to get my after action report today for this video. So I want to give you my after action report for the Sniper Adventure Challenge. And no, my fat rear did not compete. I actually went to RO, so I can ease your mind of that right now. No way I'd be able to do that. It's far too tough. It's definitely an extreme kind of adventure race with guns kind of a thing. Super cool. I'm going to tell you my experience being there for this weekend and a few things like that. This is going to be a longer video, guys, because I'm just talking about certain things to the camera. I am going to throw in some B-roll and some pictures and things that I took of the event, but I want to give you the opportunity to bow out right now and not watch this whole video if you're not really interested in hearing my report, because you're not going to see a lot of action, right? Like, these guys were miles out into the wild, and so I wasn't going to be hiking all the way out there to try to get photos and video of them. So what little that I did get was kind of around the headquarters and just pictures and things before they started the race and after they finished the race. So that's what you're going to be seeing. You're really going to be hearing my take on what it's like from an RO perspective at the Sniper Adventure Challenge. So let's start with me arriving into Wyoming on Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. The race was to start on Friday. I got there Wednesday. I just wanted to kind of, get a lay of the land and drive around a bit. I took my dirt bike with me so that I could, just cruise around some of the back roads and things like that, and see if I was going to be able to, navigate myself around there. I also wanted just a couple of nights up at the higher elevation to acclimate a little bit. I'm coming from Missouri where it's like 1,000 feet, and I think there at the HQ it was like 5,200 feet or something right in there. And so, elevation, and I'm not used to it. It's been a lot of years since I lived out in Colorado, and so I wanted to acclimate. And then on Thursday, there was kind of an initial RO briefing where we got our assignments and got to meet all the other ROs, and of course, all good dudes. A lot of them had, and not just dudes, there were women there too, so want to be fair on that. A lot of those folks had already competed in the event in previous years, and they liked it so much, the environment, the camaraderie, that they came back and wanted to RO again. So that speaks volumes to me. So we had that initial meeting and we got our assignments, and I was going to be assigned to shooting position number 1, or shooting challenge number 1, and then the special challenge number 21, and I'm going to explain to you what those were as we go along here. But we got all of our details, and then the race was to start Friday morning at 8 a.m. I will say, as an RO, they fed us very well. There's a volunteer that came. I don't remember his name. He was affectionately known as Doc because he retired from his life as a doctor. He spent a lot of years in the ER, and he comes back to this event to be kind of the medical person, and he brought with him a couple of people, another skilled EMT guy, and then I think there was an intern girl that came along with. And so my hat's off to those folks, because there actually was bona fide medical emergency up on the mountain, which I'll probably tell you about a little bit. Of course, not naming names or anything like that. I don't want to embarrass those folks, but suffice to say, it's a dangerous event and medical staff was needed. So Doc ended up cooking for us the first night, and there's the landowner there, Travis, he's got a spit, and of course we put all kinds of awesome tasty meats on there and smoked different things on that spit so that we could have just good tasty food all weekend long. And they took care of us food wise and took care of our needs for lunches and dinners and stuff, and so that was a good time. And there was all that camaraderie in the evening. You can sit around, you can have some good food, drink a beer, and just just get to know people, and that was good from an RO perspective. Got to hear a lot of war stories from the previous years of Sniper Adventure Challenge. War stories for them sounded like nightmares for me. I'm like, nah, I'm glad I'm not doing this thing, man. That thing, it just sounds crazy, and it was. All right, so let's skip forward to Friday morning race start. So all the competitors came in at 8 a.m. and signed in and got their initial maps and things like that, and they could start doing some of their initial planning phase at that point. They had just a little bit of time, I want to say maybe like 30 minutes or something like that, to look at their maps and kind of plot out their initial control points where they were going to have to be navigating to as soon as the race started. So the team's meeting, or the overall meeting, the match meeting, started at like 8 a.m. or 8:30. I can't remember which, guys. I apologize. It's been a long weekend. I'm super tired still. They got all the rules, and any questions were answered, and things like that from race staff. So each team had a cash bag that had like a lot of stuff that could be stored at a central location, and each time the team would come back to that location if they needed something out of their cash bag for the next mission that they were going to go on. Those bags did not look lightweight. Most of the guys were teaming up to carry them, and they had to carry those cash bags from their vehicles probably 300 yards away to the initial starting point. And like the first challenge to start the race was they put all the cash bags out in the middle of this field, and then one of each of the team members had to be blindfolded. And of course there's a line of 30, 40 people down the line, and half of them are blindfolded, and then the partner had to like yell them directions to try to get them to find their particular cash bag, and then they had to, once they found their cash bag, they had to team carry it approximately a mile to a field staging point where those cash bags would then live for the remainder of the race. So that's how it started, right? And at that point, all of us as ROs went out to our various locations and got set up. So for me, that brings me to shooting position number 1, which is where I spent from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Friday, day 1 of the race. So my control point, where do I start? On this, it's not like PRS or NRL type competitions where it's a square, flat range and it's all known distance. This is, out on the sides of mountains and things like that, out in the field. It's like field shooting conditions, right? It's a sniper match, so it's field shooting conditions. So guys would come up to my field shooting position, and they would notice a orange stake, which once it started to be their turn, once the time started and it was their turn to start shooting, they had to be within arm's reach of that orange stake. And then there was also a couple of construction flags delineating a leftmost limit and a rightmost limit for shooting. So when they first came up, they would get their binos out and start making up a range card. They would locate each of the targets and range find to find the distances of the targets. And so for my particular stage, there was 8 diamond-shaped targets. There was a couple of target arrays off to my left side. I think the close ones were 200 yards and then 250, and then pan off to the right, way up on a mountainside. There were targets anywhere from 500 to 550 yards. There were 4 more targets kind of dotted out across this hillside. So guys would then, once they were completely ready to go, they would come up to my shooting position with all gear in hand. I would start 3 minutes on the clock, and the gas gun operator would have to go, competitor, whatever. The gas gun shooter would have to go first and would clean as many targets as he could or wanted to within the time that they were strategically allowing themselves. And then once the gas gun guy was done, the bolt guy would jump in and try to hit as many of the targets. It was not as easy as it may sound. Those distances, in our PRS, NRL type competitions, like those are chip shots. Those are targets that you would almost always hit. I will tell you the best score on my shooting position was a 12 out of 16, I believe. So the best team got 12 out of 16 impacts. The vast majority of the teams were on the low end of that. They got anywhere from, 1 impact. I think every team that came through my shooting point got at least 1 impact, but 3 to 7 or 8 was common for all of those targets for both shooters. So 16 potential impacts available, and most teams got anywhere from 2 or 3 to 8. Top team again got 12 out of 16. So you say, why is that so difficult to hit those targets? Well, field shooting conditions, guys, right? They're up on a hill. There's some angle involved that I'm sure some people did not take into account for. I saw, and I know that for a fact because I saw a lot of kind of high misses. They would have had to account for the angle, and some guys probably didn't do that. Some guys really were not skilled in calling wind or even corrections. You could just, as you're watching the rounds go out there and it's hitting, like a mill off to the right of the target, there was a left-right wind all day long at about 5 to 7 miles per hour. It was a full value wind. So for somebody that knows how to call that wind, how to see it and call it, it was a fairly easy wind to figure out. But guys would, they'd hit a mill off to the right side of the target. Well, their partner's over there not spotting for them. And because of their shooting position, their gun's bouncing off target every time. They're not watching their impact where they can correct for themselves. So they're just slinging it down there and they're hitting the same spot every single time. And I just wanted to be like, no, I wanted to call wind for these guys. It was so frustrating and heartbreaking. But man, so that was my shooting position. So that I stayed there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday, and then we had a 3-hour break for the ROs. The teams are still going at that point, right? They're out in the hillside trying to find control points, navigating by map and compass to different checkpoints. Then from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. all through the night, we had another position where ROs like myself had challenges that we would kind of be in charge of. So teams would filter through those positions all night long. We'd try to lay down and get some sleep. We'd get like 20 minutes of sleep, and all of a sudden here comes a team, and then you'd lay down again. You might get an hour of sleep, and then here comes a team again, and then you're up for an hour and a half, and you try to get another 45 minutes of crappy sleep, but it's just what it is, right? And then from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., we had an RO break, and then, and I'm sure it's for ROs to have a break, but it's also for other strategic reasons, according to Race Command. I'm not sure. I'm not privy to all those details. And then we went again from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Saturday, the second day. Race didn't actually finish until 7 p.m. on Saturday. So my control point, or my challenge number 21 in the second area, I had these 5 pictures. There were 8 total, but I had 5 that I would give to the competitors, and they had 5 minutes on the clock. And their job was, number 1, to look at each of the pictures, and I'll put one up on the screen for you, and just kind of write out a 1-sentence or couple word brief description of what was going on in the image. And then they would try to come up with 5 bullet points, 5 important things from that image, and they were graded on their 5 things. And the way that they were graded was, I went through the challenge myself and picked out my 5 bullet point items for each of the 5 pictures, and they were graded on how close they got to my 5 things, which is completely arbitrary, yes, but it's also fair if you do it that way for all of the teams. And I tried to be as general and easy as possible on that because there's a lot going on in those pictures, and so I thought I'm going to pick a lot of real general things, right? There's 4 women in that scene. There's 2 helicopters in that scene. There's, a Chinese flag on the wall. It's that kind of stuff. Guys didn't do super well on my thing. Of course, most of the teams came through in the middle of the night in the wee hours, and then early into and through the afternoon, I guess, even some of the teams of the second day. And you got to imagine they're super tired. And of course, this is a way for us to kind of evaluate how the teams are doing too. Like, if these guys are so tired mentally that they can't even look at these pictures and and pull out details. You know, you got to start kind of worrying about them and managing safety and things like that. But there were a total of 100 points available on mine, and I think the max score was like 68 out of 100 points or something on my thing. It was good. It was fun. Again, they fed us very well, took care of us. Jimmy, one of the command staff there, cooked up a pig on, was that Saturday? I believe that was Saturday. Jimmy cooked up a pig and roasted that thing all day long. Man, we had good, tasty pig on Saturday and a few more beers, and gosh, it was just a really good time. So my assessment of the race now, from an RO's perspective, it's got to be something that you really want to do. Right? You need to be physically fit. There were a handful of people, in my opinion, and I won't obviously name names or teams or anything like that. And you guys, if I'm talking about you and you end up watching this, hey, no offense. I'm not saying anything you don't already know yourself at this point. But if you look kind of roundy in shape like me, you have almost no business being out there at Sniper Adventure Challenge. This is not a beginner's race, okay? You need a lot in the way of physical fitness. You need a lot in the way of field skills, hard skills like map and compass, navigation, those sorts of things, how to take care of your feet, how to manage your food intake and your hydration. There's just a lot that goes into that. The shooting is such a small portion of the match. It really is more of an adventure race with guns. I heard a mileage total being thrown around, somewhere around 50 miles for the entire 36 or hour event. The top teams, no team finished. The top teams finished 2 missions. So a mission was, there was a big loop, an area of the property where you would kind of walk out and hit all these various control points by map and compass, and then you'd come back and you might resupply. And you do a bunch of challenges, and I mean, it took a long time. Like, some teams never got off of mission 1. The top teams finished mission 2, but nobody started on mission 3. So the mileage was probably a little bit less since nobody really did mission 3. But again, the mileages vary because you got some teams who are very efficient in their movement and they know how to navigate, and then you got other folks that are kind of wandering and they don't really know exactly where they're going. So the hard skills really have to be there, and the physical fitness has to be there, and you really have to want this. You're going to be pushed. You're going to be stretched to your breaking point physically and mentally, and I think that's why guys do it. I used to run adventure races back in early college when I was in good shape. Yes, I actually was in good shape at one point. I used to do adventure races like this. It's such a mental thing to keep pushing yourself forward when everything in your body is yelling stop, is screaming at you sometimes to stop. You're in so much pain, you can't think straight because mentally you're just so drained and tired. But you push through that and you kind of end up getting your second wind, and if you know what you're doing skill-wise, it's real surprising actually what the human body can endure. And this really is an endurance race for shooters. You got to want it, guys, if you're going to go to the Sniper Adventure Challenge. It's one of the hardest, if not the hardest, adventure shooting races, sniper adventure races in the U.S., if not the world. I guess what keeps coming back to me about this, the story that needs to be told about an event like this, is the people that you're with, right? Your partner. It's going into a struggle like this where hopefully you work well together, but if you don't and there's argument and you're physically taxed and you're mentally taxed, how to work together as a team and push through that, how to overcome those obstacles mentally and physically and keep pressing on. That's the story, right? That's the human story of it. And it's also the camaraderie of the people. It's like you understand, this small community of shooting enthusiasts and, skill set enthusiasts that get together to have a good time and to learn new things and to push yourselves and to challenge yourselves. I'm reminded of Sir Edmund Hillary, who was questioned often, why Everest? Why Mount Everest? He's like the first guy to climb it or attempt it. And his answer was, because it's there. Right? This is not for the faint of heart. It's not a beginner level competition, right? There was people there that just should not have been there, in my opinion. I skipped over that earlier, but there were teams that were very out of shape physically, very brand new. You could tell based on the gear that they chose. Things like the big, full-size, heavy Eberly stock, tactical packs that by themselves, stripped down with nothing in them, are like 8 to 10 pounds, right? And then they're coming with a 15-pound rifle, and like maybe a 5 to 8 pound game changer, and just this heavy, standard shooting equipment that's fine when you're on a square range and you only have to walk 100 yards from your car up to the shooting line all day long. But in a match like this, that old adage that ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain, man, you need to memorize that and say it out loud to yourself during your training for Sniper Adventure Challenge. And so you need to research, what's the lightest weight things that I can do? Now, let me just give you an example, right? Like, I heard some teams, like if they have to have pistol ammunition, a lot of guys would just go with whatever boxed ammunition that they can get off the shelf. Well, some guys would go with the Blazer aluminum case pistol ammunition, because aluminum is lighter weight than the other types of boxed ammunition, right? And they wouldn't go with a solid bullet. They'd go frangible rounds, because the frangible bullets are lighter weight. And so you start thinking through all of the tactics and strategy in a race like this, and it really becomes interesting. So there's way more that goes into it. And my hat's off again to the medical staff. They had a bona fide medical emergency up on the hillside. A brand new shooter, brand new to any kind of competition, to any kind of precision rifle. It's like, why in the world would this be your first match that you choose to do? Brother, I know you watch my videos because you said you do. I don't know. But my hat's off to you. I didn't try it, right? So at least you tried it, and might have learned a hard lesson about this type of competition. But let that be a lesson to everyone else too. Go into this being physically fit and mentally ready, having the right equipment and the right skill set, and I think it would be way more fun. From an RO's perspective, it was a good time. It's one of those jobs where you're going to be fed well. You might get a patch in the end and a handshake of thanks, but you really got to want to do it, and you got to be ready to lose some sleep and be tired and worn out. But man, so worth it from the human aspect. I think that's where the story lies, guys. So thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network today. Hopefully, that gives you a little more insight or information about Sniper Adventure Challenge, or for people who are thinking about doing it in the future, maybe it gives you a little more information that you might need. Tune in again soon, guys, for more great videos from Precision Rifle Network.